10 years ago, 10 years ago, on June 26, 2011, I graduated high school. Yay! I I don't know how to even begin to explain to you the type of crippling anxiety and fear and self-doubt that I feel about looking back on my life 10 years ago and asking myself, did I achieve what I thought was going to be worth it to achieve when the time came for me to look back on the past? I know I've had this conversation before with you guys about permeated self doubt. I know I've had conversations with you guys about anxiety, depression, those things that we weren't able to really unravel during our 20s, because that, especially in this, financial crashes everywhere, wars everywhere, the rise of American fascism, like there's just a bunch of things. And some people have quote unquote made their success in life. Some people have made their some people have made their motions in life to do what they have to do. Some people have made their choices and their decisions and made their lifestyles and made their they've done what they've done what they wanted to do, if that makes sense. And for me, I feel like, and like I said, I've had this conversation with you guys. If I had done some of the things that I said I was going to do when I was that age, you and me wouldn't be talking right now. And this wouldn't be a situation in which the paradigm shift would exist. And who knows where this will lead to? Who knows what we're actually going to achieve? Who knows where this will stand to be in a couple of years? If I look back on this and say, yeah, I spoke out about that. I spoke out about this. I'm happy that I chose this route because it really affected social change. Who knows? The reason why I wanted to have a conversation on high school is because I feel like for a lot of people in this day and age, they don't really feel their age. Time is an ever flowing concept of you've got to make the capitalist machine happy and then you can move on with your life and do what you got to do. Right? That's our thought process here. That's our motions through life. That's our I'm trying to be very metaphorical with this cuz it's like without talking to somebody, this conversation gets very hard to have after a certain point because there are points that I want to make, and then there would be feedback that I would want to hear. As I start to compare things that have gone on in my life and I start to think about the people I've met, I see personally just a lot of wasted time. Like this personality that you guys get to know as the paradigm shift, this personality has always existed inside of me, but because of the people that I surrounded myself with, this was muted for a very long time. I never thought that I'd have the ability to have a position in which people would listen to me talk, let alone enjoy it, let alone share it, let alone like, subscribe, hit the bell to stay, the shit. But I've always wanted to be a leader in some form of fashion. And during high school, that type of leadership was always looked down upon if you weren't one of the cool kids. And because I was hyper rationalizing every single motive that every person would bring without the emotional intelligence, it left me in a kind of state of, yeah, maybe I should do those things. Maybe I should do this thing. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do all of this. And time just moved. Time moved. Why is that flashing again? I thought I set this to fade. You see, I didn't even touch it, right? It is the consistent motive, the consistent drive to always in the back of your head It is a consistent drive and it is a consistent motive inside of your head that makes you feel like you are not doing enough to compete with the energy and ideology you had 10 years ago. And normally 10 years is always a moniker, you know, when you have your 30th birthday, your 40th birthday. We all say these things are cool, right? For me, it just feels like I had opportunities to change my environment, and maybe that would have changed who I was, and maybe I'd feel a little bit more secure in who I thought I was. So this is my first big, hey, you're not a kid anymore. And I've had these conversations with you guys about losing your childhood innocence, saying you can't do this, that, or the other because you're 27, 35. You know, you don't have time to paint anymore. You got kids to raise. You got to get a 9 to 5. You got to make a certain salary, etc., etc. Now, while me and my AMC monkeys have stayed strong with diamond hands, would I even care about this? Or would I have a better financial standing if I had taken the other routes, found out about this later on in life, and joined in on the AMC craze with 5 grand, 10 grand? Questions. When I think about the 10 years it's been since I graduated high school, some part of me does feel like I failed along the way. And that's just part of the main frame of what it's like to be a creator or to have a catalog of the things, which is why we started this with watching one of my old videos, to have a catalog of things that you can look back on and say, why didn't I continue doing that? What stopped me from wanting to do this, that, or the other? So it's about, you know, growing up and you're having that kind of anxious crisis. You're trying to worry about whether or not what you've done is the proper thing or if you've done the most amazing thing. And sometimes it really does bug you to think, damn, did I get it all out? Is this who I want to be? Is this is this am I on the right path? You have to start thinking about paths now. You lost the freedom to be left, right, up, and down. Your knees don't work. When your legs don't work like they used to before. These questions start piling because we're consistently comparing ourselves to other people whether we want to or not, because that's the way our connectivity works in nowadays. So now I end up doing the same. Thinking about all the things that I had written, all the things that I said I was going to do, all that got funneled into how do I make money off it? And it stopped becoming a passion. It became more of a job. I stopped wanting to do this because I liked the idea of just making YouTube videos and I would sit and edit one per week and boom, for the rest of the week, I've got the week off. Now I have a stream schedule that I have to keep up with. Hopefully somebody throws a gift sub. I'll get enough money from that. That proves I'm doing something right. Instead of saying, hey, thanks guys for checking it out. And I'm happy to have the viewers that I have. You compare yourself in metrics. We've had this conversation before. I'm not going to drag you down there on my 10-year dichotomy on high school. I wanted to talk to you about who I was in high school and middle school and like how the nerd in me was constantly constantly suppressed by the idea that, oh, you're black, you shouldn't like those things, or oh, why aren't you more into rap music or this or that? Why do you like that rock shit? Like all that. Being an outcast and trying to form an identity based on both a capitalistic system and a moral identity. How do you form those two together to be the best you can be without sacrificing some part of your individuality for the cost of what you're hoping to achieve in your later years? I was always the cool, funny guy at the table. Now I got to be a comedian. Just your position and how you grew besides your environment, right beside your environment, causes you to channel into different pathways that you may or may not like all the time. Those who have the stability can make the errors and reset. Those who don't have to follow through even if it's something they hate, which makes them get stuck in dead-end jobs or jobs where they don't get to express themselves, and that inability to express themselves leads to more trauma that they end up passing down to their children or their communities or even everyday conversations that they have with people. And then you'll stare at this channel and say, well, why would I listen to a guy talk about this for 25 minutes? because you won't have this conversation. Nobody will have this conversation. I gotta have therapy. Maybe you don't need therapy. Maybe you just need somebody to say, hey, it's real. It's okay that you feel it, and process that. And let's push on to the next point. I'm not telling you push it down, but I'm also saying it doesn't have to become everything you are. So the question starts to remain. What in anything that you've done thus far is comparable enough for you to actually care about what you are saying to a person? Do you work in an oil field? Is that an interesting topic? Do you make enough money that you don't really feel like talking and everything else is just superfluous until you go back to work the next day? Do you work at a job you enjoy? Do you work at a job you care about? Do you work? Have you found a way to channel your passion into something creative that is monetary? Can you monetize on your creativity? Do you need to? And it just made me think about high school. And it just made me think about my poetry career. And it made me think about the paradigm shift. And everything just started to swell into this thought of, wow, I haven't even begun to approach the idea that it's been 10 years since I graduated high school. What are you doing now? Is it something that you're willing to talk to people about? Or is it something that they need to buy into because you're not self-sufficient on your own? Having 540,000 subscribers, I'll still tell my friends, hey, I think you should check out my video. But in the middle, end, or beginning of it, I'm not going to sit there and say, please like and subscribe. Like I do. Everybody does that already. If you enjoy it, dope. If not, more people will find it. So I'm not too worried about the 3 individuals that I knew in 10th grade. What becomes of it now? Now questions are starting to pop up about how I grew up and what am I able to face on my own? What am I able to rationalize and what got away from me? What do I do to douse those fears? Are they toxic behaviors or are they behaviors that manage well between groups of people? Do you escape consistently out to something else because you're afraid of putting in too much work into something and having it not pay off? And then you say, damn, I missed out on things that I could have had fun with because I was too busy working and it didn't work anyway. Or are you one of those people who are going to take that L and be like, all right, I'm glad I did it anyway? Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be happy with myself. Things, questions, challenges to your mortality as you start to grow and realize, oh, my parents might pass away. I'm not 12, so that doesn't sound as cool anymore, depending on which household you grew up in. I'm not even listening to anything. I don't know why I kept my headphones in for the entirety of that beginning. These just be the things that you think about. And these just are the things that end up like rolling you emotionally because the thoughts creep in and you don't know the origin of them. So now it gets a little bit worse for you. You want to handle things in a way that makes you feel like, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do and I'm stronger for it. But is your character open? Have you really unpacked the identity that you've built? Or do you placate certain parts of that with victories in places where you're just saying, I'm glad I'm here and not where I used to be? Do you act out because of it? Do you counteract the thoughts that you've had between one person to the next and say, I actually developed a personality that leads me to believe that I am better than I was before or after just because I made it through that? Or did you actively go at it and say, I'm going to challenge myself to be better, and no matter if I win or lose, at least I got the experience? How many experiences were you afforded? Did you only do things because you could afford them due to being poor? Or did you do a lot of things because you could afford them because your parents were endowed, or you got lucky with a job, or somehow you got an inheritance? The differences. And as those 10 years grew, I started to learn that there are just going to be things that I just will not do. If I'm 41 and my Twitch blows up randomly and I'm sitting here and I'm making money from it, is that fine? Is that something that people are able to consistently look at and say, yeah, I know that guy, I'm proud of that guy? Or is that one of those guys that say, yeah, I hope he's still doing that thing, he was pretty good? Or do you not need any of the recommend or the accolades at all? Do you need any of the recognition? What the fuck? Do you need to be recognized for any of these? And if so, has anybody told you that they're proud of you as of late? Are you able to absorb that and look around in your surroundings and say, yeah, I'm proud of myself too? 10 years ago, I never posed any of these questions. I just thought things were going to take care of themselves because that's how it always worked in my life. Every time I couldn't take up an opportunity, another one presented itself. Now those are scarce. Here I am on Twitch talking to you. This is the first opportunity I created for myself. This is the first brand I created for myself that only involved me. Now, most people know my photo and video outlet and the jobs I work and the weddings and the stars I've met and etc. But I know that. I'm still not financially secure, so hey, wicked. Questions. Questions that we have refused to face until the clock says, wait a minute, you're 41. You cannot be hanging out on the block with the boys no more. Don't work like that. Fears. Fears of an unequal way of growing up that makes you reconsider whether or not you really followed the path that you had to follow, or if you're following the path that you wanted to follow. Things. Examples. Who are you? 10 years ago, I never posed these questions to myself. I just said, yo, one day I'm going to talk about it 10 years down the road and it's going to be crazy. I was listening to John Mayer when I was 18. I can't wait for my 10-year reunion. I'm going to bust down the double doors. And when I stand on these tables before you, you'll know what all this time was for. Summer felt different to me back then. Everything felt different to me. And I don't know what the fuck had changed in my environment that never changed that made me sit and realize, oh shit, this isn't really where I want to be. Oh shit, this isn't really what I want to do. I don't want to have conversations with people that are superfluous and talking about the random drama of the day. But people don't want to sit there with you randomly one day and have a deep ass conversation, bro. I don't got time for that. Yeah, you don't have time for it, and that's the funny part, is that you don't have time for it. Because you're doing something else, and all I have is time. We can't be friends anymore. There's nothing to say here. There's no input. There's no grand point to this conversation. It's just us talking to one another. Oh, I got that because in high school, there was only a small group of people willing to listen to me, and those were generally the outcasts. Why was that? Why were they more open-minded while the cool table wanted to talk about the newest Jordans and NBA and who slept with who and... Oh, these life lessons never left me. These things grew with me. These things grew with everybody. My 10-year reunion, you know what my 10-year reunion should be? And I mean this with all sincerity, but also like the massivest hint of sarcasm, topped off with a little bit of like, no, but like, if we could, could we? My 10-year reunion should be every single person I ever graduated high school with on this Twitch stream at once, and we're just going to look at old photos, old performances, and all that, and just recount the days. Everybody at home, we'll do a whole video panel, we'll grab everybody, have speakers, this, that, and the other. That's not going to happen. We're not having a 10-year reunion. We might have a little meetup in the park, but the only people who are going to make it are the people who still live here. Obviously, like every 10-year reunion. I'm not saying this is different. But there's going to be this exclusivity to it. Let's go meet up at a bar. Let's go do something. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares. We're all in different places. So when time makes you compare shit, now you can't escape it. What have you been doing over the last 10 years? Oh, well, you know, I sort of kind of almost tried to begin my growth as the possible president in the future. You want to talk about some of those things that I've thought about? Or you want to talk about how Zach Morris is trash? Because I grew up idolizing Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. That was the cool kid. He got to freeze time in real life. So I'm just coming to grips with that. All of that. I'm just coming to grips with it. 22 minutes in. And I could go on for hours about this. This is a conversation that we're going to have. And it's going to get louder until that day hits. Because I remember I said when I graduated high school, for the next 3 days, after going through kindergarten, first grade, second, all the way to 12th grade, I'm going to take 3 days out and I'm just going to go to sleep. Because all I did for the entirety from growing up, going to school, being a kid, being a part of everything that I've been through in my teenage years, everything in my adolescent age, everything in my toddler, all of it. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to sleep because I am done. I hit a threshold of success that not everybody does. And I did it with honors. I performed at my high school graduation. I had a story I told you guys before. July 1st, I think it was. Yeah, July 1st. We all had to come back to get our actual diplomas. And you could feel how everyone realized that this was the last time we were going to be in that building all together. And you could feel it starting to separate. We'll stay in contact. We'll of course, we'll be friends. We grew up together. Some people got married. Some people did stick together, but the rest floundered. As it should. But now it's time to look back on that and say, well, how did we get here? How did we get here? Did you learn anything over the last 10 years? What are your moral standpoints now? How do you feel about other people? Are you ready to approach these with people you haven't seen in such a long time? For me, the question is, are you ready to approach that with people you're just meeting yet in the next few hours? There's always a new Twitch. There's always a new person that comes into the chat every day. Unique chatters have been going nuts. I appreciate y'all for that. I still got to be better than the last stream, and I got to consistently be better, and I got to be consistent. Because now I'm a part of this engine. So I'm very sorry that I can't update you on what I've been doing over the last 10 years. I've been busy. I've been busy because I'm afraid that I'm not going to make enough of myself. So I'm going to do everything. And I'm going to make it get done. I'm going to make it get done. Because that's what I have to do. And if nobody wants to hear it, fine. But everybody eventually will. Because that's my goal. So did I achieve that over the last 10 years? I don't know. You clicked on the video, so clearly I did. And that's 10 years of high school.